Oh, look,
Okay.
here comes everybody, as I think James Joyce said. Is that true, Elizabeth? You would know that. Ms. Princeton. Hi,
So
Mel.
welcome everyone.
Hi, everybody. We did it.
Welcome to everybody. On behalf of the Dzogchen Foundation, we're very happy to have you here today for our Sunday Town Hall meeting with Lama Surya Das. I'm going to post in the chat some of our upcoming virtual meetings for the spring. And please also feel free to message the Dzogchen Foundation if you have a question. And also at the end, we're going to take some time for questions, and you can raise your hand and I will unmute you for questions at the end. Lama?
Thank you. Ben Beers from Berlin, Germany. Can you believe it? Small world, Ben. Nice to see you, and thanks for hosting. We need a little more youthful energy around, don't you think? Not to mention a little more soul in our soulless anatta dharma. Welcome, everybody. Happy Easter. The light has risen. The light has risen. It's the end of Passover. It's the beginning of spring. Spring is trying to spring here in New England, where it comes late. Or should I say where the Red Sox only start winning very late. They're 0-3 now, so please sympathize with us. We're suffering. It's a beautiful day. We should be outside doing this, but we haven't gotten there yet, figured out how. I love Easter. We used to call our spring residential retreat a spring awakening. Awakening is so much a theme for us. The word to bud, or Buddha, Bodhi, awakening, wakefulness, enlightenment. And that's our theme, always. We are done chanting the Passover mantra, Om Gate Gate, Pada Gate, which means Passover, Passover, beyond, passing over, and all the rest. The Gate mantra of transcendental wisdom. And now we're on to spring and hopping around and trying to find the cosmic eggs in our garden. And this world is our garden. Let's take care of it. I heard this seva, unselfish service, is the rent we pay for living here on this beautiful earth. Seva, service to the highest by serving even the lowest. Seva, a beautiful Sanskrit term. Seva, karma yoga, good deeds, selfless giving, unconditional generosity. So in that spirit, offering these Sunday group meditations called Meditation Town Hall, free, open to anybody on Facebook Live and on our Dzogchen Center website, etc. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. Following our spiritual calling or internal imperative to reach out, not to proselytize, but to reach out, to invite, to connect meaningfully, to touch and be touched in mutual reciprocity, to breathe together, breathing out and breathing in together, vibing together, dancing with life, alone, each of us alone, together. Even during this COVID year, keeping our 6 feet of social distance, but not distancing ourselves from what matters, from what counts, from what's always present and available by whatever name. It's even sweeter than any name could describe. Occasionally I wonder about the meaning of Easter, of Christmas, of Passover, of these things, and think about it. And we all know the metaphorical meaning of eternal life. It may or may not be historical, but it's not just Jesus and Easter. Please don't be like a Catholic in recovery looking down on those thoughts, those metaphors, and not studying Buddhism enough to understand That Tibetan Buddhism too says that Guru Padmasambhava in the 8th century AD, who brought Buddhism to Tibet, is still alive. Japanese Buddhism says that Kobo Daishi, the great founder of Shingon Buddhism on Mount Koya, one of the great temple mountains in Japan, much pilgrimage, much visited, Mount Koya-san. Kobo Daishi is still alive 1,000 years later, meditating in his cave. This is a universal archetype, a metaphor for reaching the deathless peace that Buddha himself talked about. He defined nirvana as deathless peace, not eternal something, but deathless, going beyond life and death, touching something that's beyond coming and going, where we can really put a foothold in this impermanent world of ours. So there's a lot of meaning in these things if we look deeply into it, to the mystical, universal meaning, not just the historical question of did he live or die? Did Mary or was it Martha see him in the garden? Did Thomas touch him or not? And so on. In fact, if I remember correctly, which is doubtful, the Gospels say Jesus said, "Bless." When Thomas had to touch Jesus to believe that it was really him, Jesus, thus called doubting Thomas forevermore, Jesus reportedly said, "Blessed are thee who touch, but more blessed are those who believe without having to touch." So there's something immaterial that we can still touch and be touched by, even at 6 feet distance or 6,000 years away, in the timeless and deathless, underlying, overarching, all-penetrating reality. The light is risen, not has risen or will rise, like Buddhist pioneer Trungpa Rinpoche, Trungpa Rinpoche said. The ever-rising great eastern sun, he called it, his metaphor for Rigpa, for innate Buddha mind, for cosmic awareness. Ever-rising great eastern sun, never setting, the image of unborn and undying, deathless Dharmakaya. So that's the kind of things that I think about when I think about the light and the risen, the resurrected, the spiritual rebirth that we all long for, not many years from now or after death, but here and now in this life, being reinvented at a more authentic and profound level, spiritual rebirth, we call it, for lack of a better term. Not just reincarnation, as some theories go. Reinventing ourselves, not just getting from here to there later or a better rebirth, but getting from here to totally and truly, completely here. That's the sacred inner journey that our internal imperative or our bodhicitta, our longing for enlightenment, our inner spiritual chlorophyll reaching for the light, the sun, is calling us to and towards. So I love spring. Somebody said I love flowers more than most people, more than most guys, they said. That's a little politically incorrect. I don't want to insult guys that way, but I know what they meant. And of course, the lotus was before the picture of Buddha. Buddha prohibited making images or worshiping of himself. The lotus was a symbol of Buddhism, just like the fish was a symbol of Jesus long before the Christ on the cross became it later. So the lotus is so important, representing our spiritual unfolding and blossoming as we walk this path of awakening, of loving kindness and compassion and action, of wisdom and awareness cultivation together. The unfolding, the blossoming lotus with its feet in the mud and its face in the shining sun. We are the bridges connecting heaven and earth, as the Chinese say. And heaven is not up there. The sky starts from the ground, right here. So welcome, all of you wanderers and seekers. As Rumi says, ours is not a caravan of despair. All are welcome. Need I say, all colors, creeds, races, diversity, sexual proclivities, blah, blah. Of course, that's in the all. And all Mahayana Buddhist prayers end with may all, for the benefit of one and all, for the benefit of all sentient beings, not just our co-religionists, not just human beings, not just those who agree with us politically, but all beings who want and need the same thing pretty much, and just seeking it through so many different ways. Let's make sure we're on the side of the aisle without being partisan. I'm making a different point here. Let's make sure we're on the side of the aisle that knows where to look for what we seek and how to find it. Seekers must one day become finders, otherwise, what's the point? And it's not necessarily democracy in the spirit world. The power of one is there, of oneness. The Buddha's awakening itself included all beings, as he himself said. And if you haven't heard this, dig it. It's a little hard to analyze, but Buddha said, and you can read this in the Zen scriptures, Buddha said under the tree, when I was enlightened, all were enlightened, even the rocks and the trees. If that's a little hard to unpack rationally, how about my easy and too simple, oversimplifying translation, but actually totally accurate? When I am clearer, all is clearer. How could one argue with that? So that's the point of our contemplative traditions, our practice, our non-sectarian practicing and accomplishment lineage, coming down from all those masters and mistresses and benefactors of the past who worked hard to realize illumination and pass it on to us, so we too could realize that and pay it forward to the next generations. Repay our teachers and parents and grandparents and benefactors by realizing it ourselves and passing it on, to paying it forward to the next generations for a better world, better future to be possible. So let's begin with a little praying and setting our intention and motivation. Everything depends on motivation and intention, as the Dalai Lama likes to say, quoting the Mahayana sutras, the scriptures. Of course, action also counts, but motivation or intention comes first with most actions. So karma mostly depends on intention, although there's several parts to a fulfilled karma, not just action and not just intention, but also accomplishing the deed, and also whether you regret it or rejoice in it. That's also part of the karma. There's 4 parts. You could study this. Anyway, intention and motivation is so important. So let's be bodhisattvas in the first degree with intention and premeditation. Then we'll co-meditate. Then we'll go into post-meditation afterwards, as we call it. Co-meditating, intermeditating, interbeing, as Thich Nhat Hanh calls it, and I love it. Together, inclusive, one family, one satsang, one sangha, one beloved community, one world. Even this morning, I got some kind of learned paper in the mail, email, from a youngish professor woman about Saraha, the Mahamudra source, Saraha, the great Mahasiddha of India, called the Song of Saraha of Mahamudra, the great perspective, the big picture Mahamudra. And if I remember correctly, it said something like, I looked long into the oneness and shunyata, and into the no self. And now I'm free. There was nothing there, no obstacle, nothing to change. Imaho. So that's Buddhism's way of the sort of non-affirming or non-dogmatic negative. Shunyata is not just emptiness, it's also openness, it's freedom. Not an empty glass, but it's like real estate. Square feet is valuable. Emptiness and openness is valuable. The more square feet, the more valuable, not just the empty glass. So sunyata doesn't mean empty. It means the fullness, void, the potential richness of availability. That is freedom from fixation, from being in our ruts, from rigidness, from continuing to do the same things and hope for better, different results, which just doesn't make it. So this is a path of upaya, of skillful means, many different tools and techniques for us to achieve our spiritual aspirations and be a benefit to one and all. So now we're going to begin with a little chant, a prayer, some guided meditation. At the end, we'll have room for a little question and answer. And I do want to suggest and request, enjoy the joy of meditation. Don't make it into just one more chore or karmic activity. When we say let go, we mean let go of everything, including goals and imagining enlightenment or happiness. These are just thoughts and constructs. Letting go means letting be, letting things come and go, letting be, dear friends. That's the secret. I can't say that enough times. Letting go, non-attachment means letting be. Not just holding on, but not resisting also, not pushing and pulling, letting things come and go in the consciousness field, in the mind, in the body, not suppressing nor indulging. Just enjoying the show, Imaho. It's the only show, the best show in town. Generation after generation, same circus, new clowns. It's a 3-ring circus. So we give it 3 rings. Could we see Machig's prayer? Is that easy for you to put up, Ben? Ben's our new host today. Ben Beers from Berlin. Thank you. Wow, fast. You've been studying well. Oh, Machig Mahala Soade. Ah, Machig Mahala Soade. Oh, Machig Mahala Soade. Kapam Yeshengela Mapoai Shekela Ngapai Shekela But Kusante Jan Pop Maya Chenga Panyo to show. Mother Machik, to you I pray, we pray. Mother Machik, Machik, to you we pray. Hung Machik, unique mother, to you we pray. Empower us through the white Om from your forehead into ours. Empower us through the red Ah from your throat chakra into ours. Empower us through the blazing blue Hung, like a shooting star from your heart chakra into ours. Transmit to me, us, your enlightened body, speech, energy, and heart mind. May we achieve your realization of transcendental wisdom, of gnosis, of direct insight and self-realization for the boundless benefit of one and all. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Join, if you will, in the mantra of unconditional love and compassion. The 6-syllable mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Oh, this is mantra number 3 on the prayer sheet. Om Mani Padme Hum. The jewel in lotus mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum. The Buddha within. Om Mani Padme Hum. Our spiritual unfolding, blossoming. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Like echoes, like mirage, like a dream. Oh, mani padme hori. Oh, mani padme hori. Oh, mani padme hori. Oh, mani padme hum. 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 Mani padme hori. Oh, mani padme hori. Oh, mani padme hori. Oh, mani padme hum. Oh, mani padme hum. Like echoes. Oh, mani padme hum. Like a dream. Oh, mani padme hum. Like a sitcom, a movie, mirage. Oh, mani padme hum. Oh, mani padme hum. Oh, mani padme hum. May all beings be happy, free, liberated. Oh, mani padme hum. Oh, mani padme hum. Oh, mani padme hum. May this planet be healed and restored whole again. Oh, mani padme hum. Oh, mani padme hum. Oh, mani padme hum. Blessings to one and all, our own family, our own Sangha, Om Mani Padme Hum, Satsang, Om Mani Padme Hum, community, Om Mani Padme Hum, fellowship, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, companion pilgrims on the great way of awakening, Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Pray Me Home, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Oh, Mani Padme Hum. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Imaho. Marvelous. Wonderful. Amazing. Thank you. Imaho. Just enjoying the presence of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, the Buddha of love and compassion, Chenrezi in Tibetan, Avalokita in Sanskrit, Kuan Yin, China, Kannon, Bosatsu in Japan, Kwanzaa Bosa in Korea, all the same archetype, a combination, androgynous of Avalokita and Tara, the Savioress, the female Buddha. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Tari Tutare Tari So, Om Mani Padme Hum. Behind every great Buddha, there's a great female Buddha. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Savoring the presence, just presencing. Forget about meditating, getting enlightened, or your self-improvement projects. Just breathe, relax, and smile. If you don't feel like smiling, Scrooge, just breathe and relax. If relaxing is too much, just breathe, God damn it. It's a very important Buddhist practice. Don't leave home without it. Very important. Just breathe, relax, center, focus, smile. Just sitting, just breathing, just breathing. Assume your Buddha seat. Ain't that neat, Imaho? Way to go. On the path, always one's feet. Nowhere else to be. Thank you. Awareness alone, naked awareness, incandescent presence. Rely on big mind, Buddha mind, Mahamudra, the big picture. Dzogchen, the innate great perfection. Not just rational ideas of progress or regress, judging, pushing and pulling, just being, just flowing. You don't even have to get into the flow, Shmo. The flow goes through you, through us right now. Imaho. How sweet it is. And enjoy the joy of nowness awareness, the joy of natural meditation. Just being with a capital B plus. Awareness alone with a capital A plus. See? Seeing is freeing. Imaho. Try meditating with eyes open, ears open, nose open, mouth open, throat open, heart and mind totally open, diaphragm, solar plexus, anal sphincter, everything open, relaxed, decontracted, at ease, as this drill master says. Attention, then at ease, at ease. Enjoy the joy of non-meditation, unmeditation, undoing the habit of overdoing. Feel relieved of the burden of striving and achieving, of the Protestant ethic of manifest destiny, always heading further, conquering more. Lean back into the present moment rather than leaning forward and staggering forward on the treadmill of events under the momentum of conditioning. Lean back into the moment, just sitting, just breathing, just being, awareful, mindful, attentive, incandescently present and accountable. Assume your Buddha seat. It's not what happens, but what you make of it, friends, that makes all the difference. That's the secret of spiritual freedom and mastery, of self-actualization, of realization. Natural mind is Buddha, heart mind. Leave it as it is. Imaho. And enjoy the great peace of things left just as they are. The nirvana life peace of things left just as they are. What a relief. Atlas, you can put down the burden of the world now. Just for now, try it out. Imaho, way to go. Yo. Just sitting, just being, freeing, just seeing, recognizing, seeing through, and allowing, detached, aware, equanimous. 3 steps to the inherent freedom of being, just seeing, recognizing, and freeing, releasing, or more broadly, experiencing through all the 6 senses, just experiencing, recognizing, or seeing through impermanent, ownerless phenomena, and releasing, allowing. 3 steps to the inherent freedom of being. Open to the wisdom of allowing, letting be, letting go. It means letting be. Gaining an equanimity, spiritual detachment, resilience, patience, and inner strength. Imperturbable, like a mountain, eyes like the sky, energy inexhaustible like the ocean's waves, yet without ever leaving its bed. Stillness at the heart of movement, inseparable. Openness and awareness, inseparable. Being and doing, inseparable. A seamless whole, interconnected, interwoven into being. Alone together. Imho. Nowness awareness, the true, unfabricated, natural Buddha within. Take it. Savor it. Enjoy it. Now let's go out singing and praying and blessing the world and radiating joy and loving kindness with Tara's mantra, the female Buddha mantra. Om Tare Tu Tare Tare Swaha or Soha. Wishing may all beings be happy, peaceful, free, liberated, healed, and content. Avalokita and Tara from the same lineage or Buddha family, the Lotus family. There are 5 Buddha families, the mirror-like wisdom and so on, you all accomplishing wisdom. This is the Lotus family. The lotus, the image of emergent awakening, the blossoming or unfolding within, not coming from outside. Unfolding and actualization of our true nature, our uncorruptible, innate spiritual mind, or bodhicitta, our true nature. The good heart, as the Dalai Lama calls it. Basic sanity, as Trungpa Rinpoche translates it. Our true nature, the Buddha-ness within. Om Tare Tu, mantra number 4. Tare Tu, Soha. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Soha. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Soha. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Soha. Om Tare Tu 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 Tare Tu. Don't feel like you have to sit still. Om Tare Tu Tare Turiye. So don't be a wooden Buddha, stone Buddha, Tare to Tare, be a living Buddha Turiye. So Om Tare to Tare Turiye. So Tare to Tare Turiye. So don't be self-conscious. This is a Buddhist prayer. No one's listening. Om Tare to Tare Turiye. So Om Tare to Tare Turiye. So Om Tare to Tare Turiye. So Tare to Tare Turiye. So Tara, the female Buddha, womb of enlightenment. First responded to prayers. Tara, Buddha Mother, purify and transform us. Make us vehicles and vessels of your liberating, enlightening Buddha activity in this benighted world for the boundless benefit of one and all. Thank you. Imho. Nice to see you. Tari Turi Turi So Jetson Palmadro Mache Chano Jigdan Tunga Episode. Oh holy Buddha Mother Tara, please free us from all obstacles, hindrances, fears, harm, difficulties, and lead us all to supreme, unexcelled enlightenment. Now let's chant Nyoshiken Rinpoche's dedication of the Merits Prayer and the Millennium Prayer. One of the last pages of our Dzogchen Center prayer book. Through the merit of this virtuous practice and our sterling intentions and aspirations, may the light of the Buddha's precious teachings remain for ages to come, the ground, the basis for every single kind of benefit and happiness. May all the supreme upholders of the teachings who uphold its living truth agree to live on for aeons, and may their lotus feet stand firm in this fleeting world. And so may the sun of bodhicitta, of altruism and well-being in all its blazing splendor shine the brilliant light of the study and practice of Buddha Dharma throughout every corner of the universe. May all beings everywhere with whom we are inseparably interconnected and who want and need the same as we do, may all be awakened, liberated, free, healed, safe, fulfilled. May there be peace and harmony in this world and an end to war and violence, poverty and hunger, inequality and oppression, greed and cruelty, pandemics, famine, droughts, earthquakes, all kinds of natural disasters. May we all be free from fear, harm, danger, anxiety, and insecurity. No, more. And may we better prepare ourselves for the natural calamities that may beset us. Get back. And may we all together complete this gorgeous, glorious, delightful spiritual journey. One beloved community, one circle, one sangha, one satsang, one family, one all the way home. For the benefit of all beings, great and small, seen and unseen, with all their different variations and proclivities, all animated by the single life principle. Life is precious, friends. Don't squander it. Handle with prayer.
Thank you, Lama. We have a question if you'd like to.
Maybe you could answer it, Ben. You're a yoga teacher. What's the question?
The question is, how do we in the transgender community practice?
It's like everybody else, buddy. I don't want to make light of your question, but do you have a more pointed question? Do you mean like you feel discriminated against or something? Admittedly, that happens. Hopefully less in our community than elsewhere. I did mention in our Dharma talk today in remarks, inclusivity and diversity, and I may have even mentioned the different sexual proclivities or orientations. I don't know. That's the idea, including all. But do you want to follow that up? I did mention that the meditation deities like Avalokiteshvara is, what did I say? Androgynous, not just male, as some might think. Like, God is not just male. That's just a patriarchal custom. God has no gender. There's no gender in the ultimate. And all genders subscribe, or the ultimate is throughout all genders and beyond. Admittedly, we suffer, or we sympathize with the transgender community to the extent that it's a minority, and minorities get discriminated against, certainly and for sure. Do we have another question? Or was that your question, Ben?
It's a good question. I mean, I didn't have a question per se. I have lots of questions, but I'm allowing other people to ask them. If anybody, please feel free to chat.
Maybe we've meditated all thoughts and issues away. Unfortunately, they just come back. So this is a time to, think about things, maybe. Could be.
Lama, Janice wanted to ask a follow-up to her question on the transgender community, the concept of no self.
Right. Well, the concept in Buddhism of no self is like emptiness, which I mentioned before, shunyata and anatta. Anatta means no Atman in Sanskrit, no separate permanent individual soul or self. Shunyata means no solid separate entity of any kind, not just beings, but also things, tables, etc. It means the great subjectivity, the great interwovenness or interbeing. So no self and shunyata, it's in a way, it's like almost the same hard nut to crack. It's the hardest nut to crack probably in Buddhist thought. So there's no simple answer, but as related perhaps to the transgender community, and let me say that if the 50 or more years of living with Asian gurus and teachers and scholars and studying these things in world religions, particularly Hinduism and Buddhism and Tantra, I have not heard much from the old world about transgender issues. I didn't read anything in the 108 Buddhist sutras, not that I read them all, but, in general, I read Cliff's notes, and there's nothing in there about the 100. I also read Dharma for Dummies, being a diligent Dharma student, which is an excellent book, Introduction to Buddhism by an expert. There's no sayings of Buddha about that. Therefore, Buddhism and wisdom, universal wisdom traditions are living traditions. So these things, the basic original teachings have to be applied. Just like in Christianity, love your enemy doesn't just mean your enemy. Love those who disagree with you. Love those who are different. As we say in Buddhism, even the enemy, the critic, the And I'm not saying transgender people are our enemy, just saying I'm going further. The enemy, the critic, the difficulty, the crisis, the disease, the unwanted is also something for us to deal with. Buddhism says, Mahayana Buddhism says, that can be our best teacher. So the unwelcome can be our best teacher. So that's what's different, which is different to us, can be our best teacher, or heart opener, mind opener. So the question of no self is a very, very hard nut to crack for anyone. So how does that relate to the transgender community? I'm not sure. I really shouldn't wail on this. It's not my specialty. I think the next generations would do better to study this for 50 years like I have and apply the Dharma and realize the Dharma for themselves beyond their own gender. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself. We practice and realize our Buddha nature beyond gender, that I'm not just a male. I'm not just a nationality, an American. I'm not just, a guy or an athlete or an intellectual or a New Yorker or a Jew, or a boo or a schmo, whatever. We contain multitudes, as Walt Whitman sang, and there's universal wisdom in that, the song of myself. Check it out. So perhaps we need to go deeper than gender. Of course, gender is part of it. Gender is part of it. So we may have masculine energy or feminine energy or mixed identity. We may want to, we may feel like I'm a woman in a man's body or a man in a woman's body or other things that like I said, I haven't studied 50 years. I think that's incumbent on you, the new generations who are more involved in this. But I sympathize. It ain't easy to work on the nature of self and identity. Let's put it in English. No self means what's your true identity, not just your separate personality ego that you've developed. Who are you? The inner child underneath it all, uncorruptible, original nature, not character and defense mechanisms that we've developed over time through nature and nurture. So Buddha nature, or realizing the inner divinity, is beyond gender. So I think in a word, maybe that's the transcendent that I would like to talk about. But even beyond transcendent would suggest getting out of it, more like transcendent yet immanent, indwelling. There is that part of us that is beyond what we think or feel about ourselves. That is just authenticity, or the animating spirit, which, it's hard to describe in words. Does that have a gender? So it brings up the question of identity and who am I and who are we? Thus, we practice self-inquiry to find out, am I just a male, a female, a lesbian, a transsexual, an undecided, and all the other categories of LGBTQ. And I heard there were up to 14 or 16 letters. So please look into that. What is transcendent over any of us and our particularity, and yet immanent in each of us and all of us, which is kind of like the unity and diversity. So I hope that's a decent answer. Obviously, we're not prejudiced against transgender. We think that transgenders can also be enlightened, get enlightened. It's not just men or women. Some religions, I don't know how this could possibly happen in our patriarchal societies, and especially old world where the religion is mainly coming from, discriminate against women. So even just on that basic dichotomy, men can be priests and women can't in many places or churches. Well, men can be educated and women can't, in case you haven't checked, even now in some countries, and so on. So needless to say, gays, lesbians, transsexuals, and others are probably even more discriminated against, and we don't agree with that. Do not agree with that. Buddha himself broke the caste system, which was like this kind of discrimination. The horrific caste system, which still exists somewhat in India today, 2,600 years ago, Buddhism broke the caste system. He was against it. He educated anybody, male and female, untouchable or Brahmin. This is the spirit. not just of Buddhism, but of deep Dharma, of the heart of all the humanistic and spiritual traditions, not just of the local cultures of the countries that, have affected the pure essence of these founders. I myself have somebody in the family, actually two people who are transgender. One older, who was a parent, who changed in midstream from Michelle to Michael, and one younger, one who's 10 or 11, beloved of mine, who's sorting that out in a beautiful way. So no problem. And that's how we practice too. We're all in this together, all in the same boat, rise and fall, sink or swim together. And prejudice and discrimination doesn't serve anybody. That's why we say, Buddha said, and this is the thinking in universal wisdom traditions beyond Buddhism or Eastern thought, all beings are endowed with the luminous Buddha nature, or endowed with the inner light, the true light, the inner divinity, whatever you call it. We just have to awake to that, recognize who and what we are. So that relates to self or not self, or whether we're a permanent self. And let me give you a little clue, like I said, going back to the Buddhology or theology, the philosophy. Shunyata, badly translated as emptiness. Anatta, weakly translated as no self, like I said, which means no separate, independent, permanent self or soul, are the hardest nuts to crack. We need to practice, think about them, study about it, and think about it until we can't think about it anymore, until our mind breaks, and then intuit something non-conceptual beyond, in which opposites are not separate, like hot and cold are not two things. Do I need to explain? Science explains it. There's no such thing as cold. It's only heat or the lack of heat, movement of electrons and so on. So opposites don't just attract, they're not really opposite, complementary, or well, as a friend of mine said to me the other day, I think he's a elder and wise therapist by trade. He said, that's very true, but the opposite is also true, as is the case so often. I love that. That got us out of the partisanship of either or, black and white thinking, dualistic thinking. So of course we have a relative, healthy adult ego self that takes care of ourselves and maybe even others. But that's not a permanent, independent, separate, eternal self or soul. That's what anatma, or no self, means in Buddhist thinking. Moreover, moreover, to extend this, to really fill out the whole picture of the hardest nuts in Buddhism, if one might wonder, then who or what is reincarnated? I'll leave that question to you.
You're leaving us on a cliffhanger there, Lama. Thank you so much.
And tune in next week. Same channel, same time, same sponsor.
Thank you, everyone. On behalf of the Dzogchen Foundation, thank you so much. Thank you, Lama, for your wisdom and your teachings. We have a wonderful offering of programs coming up. We have the final masterclass, Dancing with Life, the Joy of Meditation and Contemplative Sweetness, coming up on April 17th. We have a Ask the Lama retreat on the April 24th. As always, we have our weekly town hall meetings every Sunday. And if you feel so moved, we are always appreciative of donations for the support of the Dzogchen Foundation and Lama's ongoing work to make this transmission accessible to all. Thank you all so much. Thank you again, Lama.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful Sunday, everybody.
Years from Berlin, the Triple B. Nice to see you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you. Nice to see everyone.